As we know, and all of us will know, an entire generation now risks being permanently locked into a rental trap. The two parts of the trap have been set over the past several years by Fine Gael government policy. On the one side are the unprecedented rent levels that have soared since 2011, up by 81%, and on the other side are the unaffordable house prices that are beyond the reach of most ordinary income workers, while they compete directly with the cuckoo funds that you've mentioned, Minister, and the state indeed in snapping up properties, buying properties that could be available for first-time buyers. Ensnared in this trap are the 900,000 people caught in the rip-off rental market across this country. For Fine Gael, the shift to rental is a positive outcome of a move towards a continental rental model. It's a Fine Gael policy to move people into private rental accommodation. For Sinn Féin, it's a chance to reject home ownership. Yet in between these two extremes are the vast majority of renters who just want to own their own home but are caught up in the financial mire of renting. Survey after survey shows that tenants want out. They want to break free of the rent trap, to get a place of their own that they can truly call their own. We need to consider the long-term consequences of this trap and the financial impact it entails. The costs and consequences of the rent trap being set by Fine Gael, based on their obsession with the new continental model, will be disastrous. Likewise, the wish list economics of Sinn Féin, who have their own fixation on locking people into a social rental model, has a dire long-term repercussions. In contrast, Fianna Fáil believe in home ownership. Home ownership is good for individuals, families, communities and the country at large. We believe that tenants stuck in a rip-off rental market should be given the opportunity to break free of that rent trap and purchase their own home. That's why we're supporting the bill at second stage as a measure to help break free of this suffocating rent trap. There are several reasons why we are better off with home ownership. Financially, housing soaks up much of the disposable income of workers and is a key asset in building up wealth. Owning your own home is cheaper than renting and allows a store of value to build up wealth. This wealth can be transferred onto the next generation to give them a better start in life. With rent levels soaring, as I said earlier on, by 81%, the financial case against long-term renting in the private rental market is proven. Paying off a mortgage is a form of forced saving mechanism, particularly after the first few years when interest repayments are replaced by equity. Each repayment is an investment in the future, as well as a charge on accessing that accommodation. In contrast, renting is a monthly cost, essentially a charge for using a service with no return on the money spent at the end. With buying consistently cheaper than renting, owners have the benefit of saving and investing more. The recent emphasis by the state on the private rental also ignores the ticking time bomb of what happens when a generation of renters reach old age. The shifts we are witnessing now will change that in a few decades. Instead, private renters, no longer earning wages when they enter retirement, will be reliant on heavy state subsidies to afford high rents in a competitive market where they are pitted against younger workers. Beyond these clear financial benefits, there are also real social benefits to promoting home ownership. Giving individuals and families a clear stake in an area and a sense of place that they can transfer onto their children is a stabilising force in society. The results in terms of greater community participation, increased general well-being are consistently captured in academic research. The instability of renting is no substitute for that. Home ownership, in our view, is the most secure form of tenure. That is why we need affordable housing for working people. They are all part of a broader reason Ireland historically promoted owning the roof over your head. It is the reason why, in survey after survey, young people still overwhelmingly aspire to buying their own place. That's why Fianna Fáil wants to help renters break free of the rent trap. Fianna Fáil will support this bill at second stage, as I said. Allowing this legislation to proceed to pre-legislative scrutiny will give an opportunity to tease out the ramifications of the legislation. For example, as the Minister has already stated, its constitutionality may be disputed, its impact on supply and the fact that it covers the entire country, not just the existing rent pressure zones. Furthermore, it will give us an opportunity to discuss in detail the rent tax credit cost and its impact on the rental market. And we need to strike a balance in restraining the extortionate rents tenants are paying, with keeping ordinary landlords in the system and not penalising those who have not hiked up their rents over the past several years. I want to focus for a moment on the impact on small landlords. 150,000 in this country, some 80% of the entire market, have 2 or less units. They do not enjoy preferential tax treatment, in contrast with the REITs and cuckoo funds who this government have cultivated. Fine Gael have focused on attracting REITs and IRFs, institutional landlords that are the norm in countries like Germany, have begun to rapidly expand into Ireland, but will not fill the gap left by the traditional landlord. REITs are heavily concentrated on the high-income accommodation sector of the market, leaving large cohorts behind. Hemorrhaging properties from a severely pressurised market further drives up prices, freezing out low-income workers and vulnerable households, which in turn is generating our abysmal homelessness crisis. Yet the government has done nothing bar accelerating mortgage interest relief under pressure from my party to address this embattled sector. Instead, they have pressed their thumbs on the scale in favour of institutional investors. Back in 2017, you may remember that the report on the working group on tax treatment of landlords, and that remains unfinished business. At pre-legislative and committee stage of this bill, Fianna Fáil will ensure that these proposals on alleviating the burden on small landlords are addressed. This proposed rent freeze should not be a further spur to losing badly needed homes from that sector. A rent freeze alone will not address the multiple facets of the rent crisis. It goes much deeper than that. A new national rent deposit scheme will help address the disputes around deposits. A local authority rent accommodation quality certificate will help to improve standards. Rolling out cost rental to scale after years and years of missed deadlines is a badly needed step. Broader steps to tackle construction costs, reduce land prices and get bricks and mortar in the ground to boost supply is vital. Ultimately, however, we need to give renters an opportunity to realise their dreams and ambitions to own their own place. The Fine Gael vision of a private rental sector is both economically and socially unsustainable. The Sinn Féin model of total social rental is equally damaging. We should not be afraid to actively support people to own their own home. The bill should not be viewed in isolation. Our support is a recognition of the pressure and strain that the rent trap is placing on the shoulders of tenants across Ireland. We will work at committee stage to further refine the bill and ensure the playing field is levelled out for small landlords. Most importantly, we will ensure this bill forms part of a suite of measures to help renters smash out of the jaws of the rental trap and buy a place of their own. Our first-time buyers bill passed last week at second stage, our affordable housing scheme, supports for renters to save for their deposit, shared ownership models must all form part of a campaign to arrest the decline in home ownership and break the rent trap once and for all.